All right. Well, the hottest topic right now, and Ted, I think you need to kind of take the lead on this and explain your thoughts before I give mine. The
Yeah.
MLB, this last couple days, we've had the first spring training games, the first look at the new rule with the pitch clock, where the pitcher now has 15 seconds from the time the ball hits his glove to deliver a pitch. You famously, and I actually had your tweet sent to me by a little birdie of mine who basically maybe describing it as one of the worst tweets he's ever seen. Your stance on hating this rule change. Please explain it just so I can debunk it.
This rule change is for little kids like you. You have no patience. That's why. Give me a break. Baseball has succeeded forever since the turn of the century, the last century. What needs to really be changed? These rule changes, yeah, I do agree. They need to speed it up. You know how you speed up a game? The umpire takes charge of the game and said, step in the box or I'm going to call a strike. It's that simple. You don't need a shot clock. You need bigger bases, for crying out loud. What in the hell is that? Bigger bases. I mean, my God, what are they going to do next? I mean, my head's going to explode. And it's all because of you kids that have no patience. Baseball's the national pastime.
Dude.
You're supposed to sit back and relax. I'm all worked up on this.
Here's what I know, and this is what's hilarious. How many games I had to sit and watch or work last year? Probably more than 60.
Oh, tough job. That's a tough job.
Here's the thing. I don't know if you watched an entire baseball game outside of one you attended other than opening day from start to finish. And you're probably going to lie, but is that not true?
No. I watched pretty much all playoff games in their entirety.
You don't. So you agree that there is an issue with speed. You don't think that the basically what has irritated you so much about speeding this game along?
Nothing. Great. I didn't say. I said right from the very beginning they have a problem with the speed and pace of the game. 100% agree with that. Putting a clock on it, and I mean it's just. It's all these other rules too. They're putting a runner on at second base for extra innings. Are you kidding me? In the 10th inning? In the 10th inning?
Putting the ghosty on second, basically going into extras, that one I have a little bit of a problem with because that's like literally changing the game. I mean, you're putting a player on base who didn't get a hit or whatever. That one, I'm a little bit like, I don't know. Taking the shift away, I'm fine with. Who cares? I don't really. That one, I'm like, whatever. That's not a big deal. The shot clock one, or the pitch clock one. I like it because they've been testing it in the minor leagues and stuff for a while, and it has been proven to speed up the game. I'll be curious the first time, like, it happened over the weekend in spring training, that games have been ended on a batter not being ready and missing the pitch clock. So I'll be curious the first time an MLB game has like a significant outcome affected by this pitch clock, what happens. But like your idea of having the ump just say, get in the box or I'm going to call a strike. I think that gives the ump too much power. I think like there needs to be a rule because like how is an ump just going to all of a sudden be like, I don't like Bryce Harper, so I'm going to tell him to get in the box or I'm going to give you a strike. I don't like umps in general. I think umps, they have too much power. They can affect the strike zone however they want. They can call balls and strikes and throw managers out. I want less. I want less umpire power in baseball. So more rules, put in a pitch clock. I'll be curious to see how it goes. I'm not all in. I'm not like, yeah, do it. But I think I replied to your tweet that Jared's talking about. They have to do something because if they don't do anything, they're just going to keep losing fans. And yes, Ted, it is America's pastime, but
it's not anymore.
Who do they need to appeal to? The younger kids coming up,
Who are the people that are all disappointed? The people that are trying to watch it on TV, or the people that actually go to the games? I mean, is this all about ratings and TV money and everything else? That's what
that's where the money comes from, right? Any money from TV?
That's too much money. They make too much money to begin with.
99% of the people that are watching baseball, it's not in the park. Yeah, you go to one game a year. Yes, I admit the atmosphere and the 30 minutes less of game time you get. When you attend a game, that's a little bit of a bummer, I guess.
Right.
But it's just going to be so much better while it's being played. Here's what cracks me up about this, like the batters complaining about this 15-second rule. Ted, I'm surprised you're not the guy, whatever happened to the old days, you take the gloves off, you rub your hands in the mud, you stand in the box and you don't leave it. Why do you have to step out of the box after every pitch? We're acting like they have to like flip or something in between every pitch. Just stand in the box. It's not rocket science.
It's kind of funny. We sort of agree, other than we disagree on the clock. Okay.
Yeah.
I still stand by my
There's no-
umpire saying, get in the damn box and hit. I mean, you have officials that have judgment calls they make all the time, whether it be football, basketball, or baseball. Umpires seem to have a black eye for some reason, that they're like the worst officials in professional sports. I mean, I played plenty of ball, and the umpire is in charge of the game. Now, maybe it doesn't work with these players nowadays at the major league level. Maybe I'll give you that. But I just am. Just call me an old coot, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd like to know who sent that and said that's the worst tweet they ever saw.
And what's funny is it's somebody that let's just say it was one of my coworkers. They don't know. They are fans from afar. They are not.
So they're fans from afar, but they disagree with like people that played Major League Baseball, like Gary Sheffield and some of these other stars.
I love that Gary Sheffield is the one that's in your corner, man.
Well, I read it and I said I agree with him.
Here's the pitch clock. It's not. Give it a couple months. It's not even going to be a factor. It's just the game's going to be played faster.
Okay.
Right.
I have no problem with a couple of spring training games being decided because some idiot went stand in the box.
Well, what about the other rules? What about the other rules? Bigger bases, all of a sudden.
The bigger bases, like, I mean, it's like slightly bigger. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. It's kind of the same. You know, I bet, Ted, you probably remember, you know, probably vividly when they put the 3-point line in basketball in the NBA.
Yes, I remember that.
I bet it was some big outrage. I bet it was, this is going to ruin the game. You're going to allow people to score 3 points for making a shot. The integrity of the game is going to be ruined. And these young kids want more scoring and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now that's what the game is.
Yeah.
So yes, I think there's going to be an adjustment period. People I threw out Bryce Harper. He has a long routine of fixing his gloves. And so yeah, there's going to be an adjustment period. 5 years from now, it's going to be a part of the game. Games are going to be 3 hours. And you might actually sit and watch a game. But now these four, I mean, yeah, Jared, you cover the 4.5 hour games. It's just like, oh my God, let's go. What are we doing here?
And it's just such a silly thing. Like that just seems like I mean, I tell you what, back in 2011, when I was throwing immaculate outings, which is where you could only pitch 3 innings in youth, you strike out all 9 batters, then you leave for the day. Guess what? I wasn't stepping off the mound every 2 seconds and throwing the ball back in my mitt and then resettling back in, throwing down and then getting it back and then throwing down again and then finally throwing a pitch. No, this is it's an all-time great rule. I love it. I have boots on the ground coverage for my dad who went to a spring training game, said it's the best rule they've ever had. Said you can clearly notice that the game was on. The pace is so much better.
Yeah.
And I'm just for it. The one thing I will say, and while we're on the topic of rules, I hate the shift rule. I hate it. If you can't control your hitting and you can only hit it to one side of the field, I think you're just a flawed baseball player. Right. I can't stand that they changed that rule.
Well, we agree on that one.
Yeah. That one I think we're fine with, because I mean we remember Victor Martinez being with the Tigers, and they would shift the whole defense over for him, and it was like, come on, dude, just lay a bunt down over there. I'll say this, not to bring politics into this because we don't get into politics much, but this is similar to like when I see people say stuff like the Constitution was written, our founding fathers would be so upset and we shouldn't be changing anything. It was written this way 5,000 years ago. This is how we should live. You know, things change, people evolve, people learn, people figure out that certain things should be improved and changed. And, you know, we change as a society. Same with baseball. Speed the game up. I mean, come on, put a pitch clock on. Yes, it's going to be an adjustment, and maybe they change it. Maybe they go to 18 seconds, or maybe they do something where it's like, okay, maybe this is too quick. Let's adjust it. You make changes. Just because that's how it was back when Ty Cobb was spiking people in the shin doesn't mean that that's how it should be all the time.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about it is that's not how it used to be. You see tweets all the time about these guys like it'll be like 1933. This guy threw a complete shutout, 12 inning game time, 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Right.
It's the Derek Jeter, putting the hand up to the every time you're in the box. It's that BS that has made these games so much longer.
Well, it's the parade of relief pitchers, Jared. That's the number one thing. The number one time consumer is so many relief pitchers.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even go back that far. You go back to the 60s and 70s, you had a starter that went 8 innings at least or went complete games consistently. It's the relief pitching that slowed the game down more than batters. Batters is a factor. I agree. And, I may be a little bit stuck in my old ways because of my passion for baseball. It's my favorite sport of all time and always will be. And baseball is the one sport where you can look at records. 100 years ago, the bases were the same. The pitching mound was the same. It's the same rules. So you could go by the records, when they're changing up things, it flaws it. And I understand, you guys know I've kind of rolled with the flows on different changes in different sports, but this one just aggravated me. I got to admit
I can't believe that.
It does change things a little bit, but like they added games to the regular season.
I don't like interleague play. That's how old I am.
Interleague play, right? Like the DH versus no DH was a thing. One thing that's always goofy to me is different dimensions in ballparks. Like if, we talk about like Comerica Park moved in the fences finally, should have been done 15 years ago, but Comerica Park, so different parks have short fences. So guys that play the majority of their games there are going to have inflated numbers.
You've always had that.
Right. That's always been a thing. So that's like, baseball just has all these quirks. Baseball is just like a weird, but right. Things have been consistent. That doesn't mean that they can't change, because I'm blown away. I don't know how they're still able. The Padres gave Manny Machado 11-year, $350 million extension. And I'm just like, how are you able to pay these contracts? No one watches the sport anymore. Like where they're getting the money is TV. So yes, they have to make the TV product better. Right. That's the whole. If they want to pay Manny Machado, they've got to get some people to watch on TV.
Yeah, see, that's a whole nother discussion, though. These guys should not make that kind of money. I'm sorry, ridiculous. That's the way I look at it. They should not. So if this is greed. This is greed. So the greed of the players, the greed of the owners, the greed of the television networks. It's all about money, guys. And you got to admit, that's what it's all about. It's all about money.
It's the fact that the best athletes are no longer baseball players. They don't play baseball. Right. There's no Deion Sanders anymore. They all play football. They all play basketball. The sport is outdated. It used to be the number one sport. Now it's 3.
It may have fallen, but it's not outdated, for God's sakes. How do you say it's outdated?
I mean, you
70% of the major leaguers all grew up in this country.
85% of the most watched live events this year were football, NFL.
Nobody's arguing NFL.
1%, the World Series.
Nobody's arguing the NFL's king, right?
So, but what happened? Baseball used to be king. Then they didn't make any rule changes for 300 years, and now look where they're at.
What was the technology of football? Football, I agree. Football, you sit down for 3 hours and you're out of there for sure. Right. It's a time, pretty much time. In baseball,
it's supposed to be it's still a 2 hour and 40-minute game is what they're predicting. I mean, that's not exactly. It's not like they cut the quarters in half. I mean,
right. I hope I'm wrong, guys. I just hope I'm wrong. It just irked me. I hope I'm wrong. There's a lot of things about baseball and some of the changes they made I don't like. And like I said, the ghost runner on second base. My God, what is this? The Sandlot? Right. Give me a break.
I mean, a recent one. Think about the uproar when they put in instant replay. Now it's just a part of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times.
I tell you what, I can appreciate you hating it. That is kind of hilarious. So
you knew I would.
I'll leave it at that. One thing I got to throw out in baseball terms, and I'll be quick on this. A lot of people have been really down on the Tigers heading into this season, and I just got to say something that's been on my mind for the last couple months. I think they're going to have a good year. I really do. They don't have any talent, really, but I still think they're going to have a good year. And here's
optimistic.
Why. Here's why.
Well, here's my thing. Real quick, Jared, because I know you've got a lot to say on this. When I see a graphic of this is who's going to lead the charge for the Tigers, and it's Riley Green and Akil Baddoo, and I'm just like, this is who we're banking on? Hey, man, I hope so.
It doesn't look good on paper. I'd be the first to say that. But I got 8 reasons. I'll go through them real quick. So number one, last year they had the high. We were dumb. We came on this podcast, basically said they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. They had all these offseason signings. The pressure was way too much. As soon as they started off badly, it was just snowballed. There was no way to right the ship. This year, zero expectations. So they are coming in. They're going to play free, which I think is so important. A mental sport like baseball, it's like golf. They are going to have no pressure on them. They're just coming in. Whatever. If they win a game, great. If they lose, great. Nobody's expecting anything. So I think that's a big reason. They're just going to have a lot of pressure relieved from themselves. Number two, they didn't go and sign a bunch of off-season guys right before the season started during spring training like they did last year. They didn't have any big swings. they're a young team this year. Which I think usually when you have a young team, we see with the Detroit Lions, it means you have a good culture. It means you have a happy clubhouse, a close team, and usually that's going to give you a few wins. So I think just because of the fact they're all young, they've all kind of came through the minors together. They don't have any pressure on themselves. I really think they're going to outperform what a lot of people think. Number 3, Miguel Cabrera, not going to play nearly as much as he did last year. I love Miggy. We know it's his farewell season. I hope he has a good year, but just the fact that your DH is batting 250 with 0 power in the middle of your lineup, it's just dead weight. So I expect him to maybe play 60 to 90 games this year. I think closer to 60 than 90. So I think the fact that we're just shaving down the amount of times he's in the lineup, we love him. We love it when he's in the lineup, but it just doesn't translate to wins. I think that's going to help. Number 4, this is a bit of a deep cut, but Eric Haas is replacing Tucker Barnhart as catcher. Tucker Barnhart, man, what the big hoopla was about that guy when he got signed last year, I'll never know. He because he can manage a pitching staff, dude. He couldn't swing a bat. He had 1 home run last year. The fact that we get Eric Haas in there, maybe he's not the pitching staff manager that Barnhart was, but he's got pop and he's clutch. In the only big game of the entire year last year, opening day, he had a clutch home run in the 8th inning to tie it up. So I like the idea of Haas being in there. Number 5, all reports out of spring training, especially Torkelson's looking good, feeling good, confident. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. Not saying he's going to be, the next Juan Soto or some electric baseball player, but I think he'll be serviceable and he'll be a startable guy that's going to be on the Tigers the entire year. So anything compared to what we got last year will be a bonus. Number 6, Austin Meadows will actually play this year. I actually think he was a good signing. We know with the whole roller coaster he went on last year with vertigo, then mental health issues. He's going to be recharged and we'll actually have him. So that's a bonus. Number 7, Jonathan Scope. 40 pounds down. He's on the Ted Fattel Wellness Center diet, doing CrossFit. He's lost 40 pounds, best shape of his life. A lot of people are thinking he's probably just going to be trade bait, so he'll get dealt at some point during the year. But until that happens, or if it never happens, I think we're going to have an improved Jonathan Scope for whatever.
Pretty good player. I like him.
40 pounds down, though. Like, does he have any strength left?
He looks great. I mean, dude, he was carrying a lot of extra weight. A lot of baseball players do. I think he had a little bit of a wake-up call from his not-so-great season last year, so I expect him to be ready to rock this year. Last one, we have A.J. Hinch. I still believe A.J. Hinch is one of the best managers in the game. We saw this in 2021 where he stole, 3 or 5 games just with end-of-game scenario, great coaching. I think we expect the same thing this year. I still just really think that the pressure last year and the poor start, it just really soured the entire clubhouse, soured Hinch. I still think he's a great coach. And last but not least, honorable mention, this is more just me hoping, Akil Baddoo homered in the first game of spring training. I need him to have a good year. Hinch has always said the best version of this Tigers team is with him in the lineup. He brings energy. He brings excitement. He's a great clubhouse guy. I need a big season from Akil Baddoo. So what do you guys think after hearing that list? Are your expectations a little bit higher? Do you have a positive outlook of this year?
No, that didn't help at all.
I think our Bally Sports Detroit guy decided to do a little homework and brought some stuff to the table here. Yeah, the Tigers, I love the Tigers, but they're going to be fighting to stay out of the cellar. I hate to tell you. It all starts on the mound. Who are they going to throw out there?
Yeah, they've been depleted by injury. Scooble's going to be out until July. Spencer Turnbull's back, though. Who recently threw a no-hitter, and then I think maybe a day later had Tommy John surgery a couple years ago. So yeah, it is what it is. I mean, Chris Fetter's a great manager in terms of the pitching staff, bullpen coach or pitching coach. Pitching coach is the term. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, the expectations are so low. I think they're way too low. I think, and I think this team is going to surprise. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. Right. But I think we were 30 games below 500 last year. I think we're going to be right at least maybe 10 games below 500. I think it's going to be a 20-game improvement.
If they do that, then yes, that is an improvement. Health is a big thing because the expectations last year, yes, now we know were very unrealistic, including from the 3 of us. We were all penciling them into the American League pennant. But, I mean, health, I think, is a big thing. If Torkelson can play a full healthy season, if Riley Green can play a full season, if Baez can play a better, cut down on the strikeouts and stuff like that. I mean, they can make an improvement. They just don't have if Riley Green or Torkelson turn into the players that people hope or think they will be, it's the same with the Pistons. You got to have some stars. You have to have some legit players. Javier Baez just isn't that. He's a fine major league player, but
Yeah.
he's not a star. And that's just what the Tigers are. They're just a bunch of dudes. If we're being honest, I know you like Baду. Is he a major league player? I mean, like when you watched him last year, it was like, how is this dude getting so many major league at bats? Like, this is pretty pitiful. Hopefully he's improved. He was young, he's been young, now he's been in the bigs for, a few years now. So hopefully he puts it together. But it just looks like on the roster looks like a bunch of guys that should be in Toledo instead of Detroit. And, I hope I'm wrong because I think Hinch is one of the best managers in the league. But you got to have players. When you look at those Houston teams that he was managing, he had Hall of Famers and All-Stars all over the place.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, because Comerica looked pretty pitiful last year at the end of the season with about 700 people in the stands.
Yeah.
So
all I'm going to say is, Ted, you always do it for the Lions. You take the over bet on wins. I'm telling you, man, take it to the bank.
What is it at right now?
I want to say I'll take a look. I don't know off the top of my
head. I'm going to guess it's probably in
75,
the 60s. I was going to say, no, I said in the 60s, like 65.
Yeah, I bet it's 60.
68, something. That would be my guess. I don't know.
Yeah, probably go over for that.
66
maybe.
or 69.5.
Yeah.
Okay. They need to win 70 games, which would be 20 below 500.
Yep.
They can do it, man.
Go get them, Tigers. I do appreciate the young man bringing some baseball to the table today. We turned this
microphone. Man, we just talked baseball for what 25. Wow.
I am excited for this year. I really think the MLB did some smart things. Finally getting rid of interleague play, Ted. We don't need to spend another 20 minutes on that, but I know you hate it.
I don't.
It's gonna be great. I can't wait to see. We have a series against the Mets this year. I mean, how fun is it going to be to go against Justin Verlander on Monday, Max Scherzer on Tuesday, and then pitcher number 3 on Wednesday.
I can live with that. I can live with it, but it's tough for me to change my ways for sure.